Part 1. The Storm Before the Stillness. Have you ever had the sense that the biggest obstacle in your life is you? That no matter how far you run, how much you try to change your circumstances, or how many people you try to please, there's still something immovable, something resistant, something heavy standing in the way of your breakthrough? In the first minute of this journey, we ask you to consider this. What if you are not the person climbing the mountain, but the mountain itself? Not the seeker of change, but the change waiting to be discovered. Brianna Wiest writes in her powerful work, "The mountain is you. You are not broken. You are breaking through." That alone rewires everything. Because if you are the mountain, then the summit isn't somewhere far in the distance, it's buried deep within your own being. Let's begin with the first sign. You sabotage your own growth because it feels safer than succeeding. This is not about failure. It's about the fear of who you'll become if you actually succeed. Success demands responsibility. It requires you to rise, to be seen, to risk more loss. And so you stay small, not because you can't grow, but because you've mistaken comfort for safety. Wiest says, self-sabotage is when you have two conflicting desires. One is conscious and one is subconscious. You want to be free, but you also want to be safe. And when safety feels like familiarity, even your pain becomes a comfort zone. Ask yourself, are you more afraid of failing or of what will be demanded of you if you succeed? The second sign, you keep waiting for the perfect moment to begin, but it never comes. You tell yourself you need more time, more clarity, more certainty. But deep down, you're just waiting for the fear to disappear. And it won't, because the fear isn't a barrier, it's a compass. Wiest reminds us, fear is a cue, not a stop sign. Life will never hand you permission to evolve. You have to claim it, and the mountain within you will not move until you do. So the waiting becomes another disguise for resistance, a way to delay the discomfort of transformation. You are the storm and the shelter, the seeker and the saboteur. Which one will you choose to be? Third sign, you outsource your self-worth to external validation. You define yourself by how others see you, what they say, how they react. Your identity is a collage of other people's opinions. But here's the painful truth. When you let others define your worth, you become addicted to their approval. You chase praise like a drug, and the withdrawal feels like death. Wiest writes, until you heal the wounds of your past, you will bleed on people who didn't cut you. And often, those wounds are not from others, they are from the parts of you that you neglected, rejected, or abandoned. The mountain in you is made of shame, of unmet needs, of unprocessed pain. And until you turn inward, no amount of applause will ever be enough.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Fourth sign, you constantly compare yourself to others and feel behind. Social media has become a mirror of inadequacy. Every scroll tells you you're not there yet. But where is there? Who decided what your timeline should look like? Comparison is a thief. It steals your presence, your joy, your clarity. Wiest challenges us to rethink this when she says, your new life is going to cost you your old one. And your old life was built on comparisons, on trying to keep up, on matching someone else's path. But your mountain is uniquely yours. It does not resemble anyone else's journey. So why are you trying to climb it with someone else's map? Fifth sign, you have patterns that keep repeating, no matter how hard you try to change them. Different relationships, same outcomes. New jobs, same frustrations. You keep saying, why does this always happen to me? But the better question is, what am I doing to recreate this? Weiss tells us that your triggers are the guides to your healing. The recurring patterns are not punishments, they are invitations. Until you resolve the emotional root, the external circumstance will keep showing up in slightly different costumes. It's not the world that's against you. It's the unresolved within you that's manifesting as chaos. What if you could trace every repeated heartbreak, every self-destructive loop, to one wound you've never faced? Sixth sign, you feel like you're always waiting for your life to begin. You fantasize about the future. When I get the job, when I fall in love, when I move away, then I'll be happy. But this mindset is a trap. It convinces you that peace is always one step ahead. Weiss writes, your life is not on hold. You are not waiting. You are delaying your own evolution by refusing to be who you are right now. The truth is, life isn't waiting for you to arrive. It's waiting for you to wake up. The mountain is not in the future. It is not a destination. It is the present, the now, the very breath you're taking in this moment. Why are you postponing your own presence? Seventh and final sign, you don't trust yourself to make the right decisions. You overthink, overanalyze, seek endless advice. You fear regret more than stagnation. But self-trust isn't built through certainty, it's built through action. Weiss reminds us clarity comes from engagement, not thought. You won't think your way into the right life. You'll live your way into it, and part of that means making mistakes, learning, adjusting, and trying again. The mountain within you is not afraid of failure. It's afraid of never being set free. So when will you finally choose to trust your inner compass? Let's return to the core idea. You are not climbing the mountain. You are the mountain. And that means the enemy, the obstacle, the resistance has always been within. But so has the answer. So has the strength. So has the summit. Weiss says, the mountain is what you are here to overcome. The mountain is your trigger, your insecurities, your fears, your past, your hesitation. If that's true, then every breakdown is a breakthrough in disguise. Every wound is a doorway. Every fear is a signal. You are not broken. You are breaking open. Now pause for a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself this: what part of me have I been avoiding, blaming, or fearing that is actually the key to my transformation? What if your deepest pain is not your punishment, but your portal? And here's something deeper. What if the life you want is on the other side of everything you're afraid to feel? That's not poetic. That's neurological. That's psychological. That is your inner mountain calling you home. Because the only way up is in. Part 2, the shadow that speaks. We often think of transformation as something that happens outside of us: a job, a move, a new relationship. But what if the real transformation is internal, invisible, and often painful? What if the mountain we are meant to conquer is not made of rock, but of resistance? Brianna Weiss writes with piercing clarity, the hardest part of changing your life is not getting the new job, or losing the weight, or ending the relationship. It's facing the part of you that chooses comfort over courage. You are the mountain not because you are immovable, but because you are layered with stories, fears, memories, and beliefs that must be excavated to find your true self. And sometimes, that excavation feels like destruction. Let's dig into something that may feel uncomfortable, the idea that avoiding your shadow is what's keeping you stuck. You can't heal what you won't look at. You can't grow into your higher self if you're still denying your lower self. Weist writes, "Your triggers are not random. They are windows into what still needs to be healed. What you avoid doesn't disappear, it festers. It becomes your reactions, your projections, your limitations. The mountain in you is built of everything you haven't faced. So if you want to collapse it, you must be willing to meet your shadow not with judgment, but with radical honesty." Now here's a question that may shake you. What if your biggest fear isn't that you'll fail, but that you'll succeed and no longer recognize yourself? That you'll lose the version of yourself you've been for so long, even if that version was unhappy. This is identity death, and Weiss speaks directly to this when she says, letting go is not a loss. It's a beginning, but beginnings often come dressed as endings. And it takes tremendous maturity to realize that grief isn't always about losing something bad, it's about releasing something familiar. You're grieving the life you've outgrown, the roles, the masks, the narratives. You are the mountain, and you are also the earthquake that reshapes it. Another sign that you are the mountain in your own life is this: you intellectualize your emotions instead of feeling them. You analyze your pain. You explain your sadness. You research your trauma. But you don't feel it. Not deeply. Not in your body. Weiss calls this emotional bypassing and warns us that healing is not about understanding. It's about experiencing what you've been avoiding. Your brain cannot heal what your body still holds, so you remain stuck in loops of insight without integration. You know why you're stuck, but you're still stuck. Why? Because knowing isn't healing. Healing is. Here's a powerful metaphor Weiss uses. When you avoid pain, you avoid growth. Pain is the teacher, the initiator, the gatekeeper. And yet we numb, we distract, we rationalize. But what if, instead of running from the pain, we sat with it? What if we treated it as sacred, as necessary, as wise? When you stop resisting your pain, it transforms into presence. And in that presence, you meet your true self, not the version you perform, but the version you've buried. That is the path, not just to healing, but to wholeness. Let's talk about another powerful sign. You seek permission to be who you already are. You wait for someone, your partner, your parents, society to tell you it's okay to change, to leave, to evolve. But here's the truth: no one will ever give you that permission. Why? Because your transformation threatens the status quo. Weiss writes, people will not always understand your healing. But that does not make it wrong. Waiting for approval is another form of self-abandonment. And when you abandon yourself, you become resentful, bitter, and small. The only person who can validate your growth is you. Ask yourself this: whose voice are you still trying to please? Whose approval are you still chasing? And at what cost? The more you seek external validation, the further you drift from your own truth. And your truth is not loud. It's not glamorous. It's quiet, grounded, often inconvenient. But it's real. And the more you align with it, the more you realize that becoming the mountain means becoming rooted in your own reality, not someone else's expectations. Let's now explore a subtle but powerful sign. You confuse stability with stagnation. You tell yourself you're secure, but deep down, you're uninspired, unfulfilled, disconnected. You've settled for a life that doesn't challenge you because it doesn't scare you. But safety isn't the same as growth. Weist writes, "You will feel uncomfortable when you start to grow." That's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something different. The discomfort is not a warning, it's confirmation. You're expanding. You're shedding layers. You're stepping out of the known and into the real. And that is terrifying. But it is also exhilarating. Next, we come to a profound realization. You are addicted to your own suffering narrative. You have told the story of your pain so many times that it has become your identity. I'm the one who was abandoned. I'm the one who never got a break. I'm the one who always gets hurt. These stories may be true, but they are not the whole truth. Weist reminds us healing is rewriting the narrative. It is telling a new story, not denying the old one. You can honor your pain without worshiping it. You can acknowledge your trauma without becoming it. You are allowed to rewrite the script. You are allowed to be someone new. But here's the catch. You can't become someone new until you mourn who you were. And that mourning is brutal, because who you were had dreams, even if they were illusions. That version of you tried their best. That version of you kept you alive. So don't resent them. Thank them. And then let them go. Because the mountain you are becoming cannot carry the weight of who you used to be. That climb requires lightness. It requires truth. It requires radical, ruthless, loving honesty. Another sign you are the mountain, you've stopped believing in your own intuition. You second-guess yourself constantly. You look outside for answers that only exist within. But Weist says, your intuition will feel like a whisper, not a scream. It will be still, not anxious. So many of us confuse trauma responses with intuition. We think our anxiety is a warning, but often it's just our nervous system reacting to past wounds. Real intuition is calm. It's clear. It doesn't beg or panic, it simply knows. Are you listening to it? And finally, perhaps the most subtle sign, you keep looking for life to make sense before you take the next step. But life doesn't make sense in the beginning. It only makes sense in reverse. Clarity is retrospective. Weist writes, you will not always know where the path is going. You just have to trust that it is yours. You don't need the whole map. You just need to take the next step. And then the next. And slowly the mountain reveals itself not as something you climb, but as something you become. Let's pause again. Let this sink in. You are not the victim of your life. You are the creator of it. You are not chasing healing. You are remembering that you were whole all along. You are not seeking the mountain. You are waking up to the fact that you are the mountain. So the question now is this: what truth have you been avoiding because you know it will demand the death of who you no longer are? What would happen if, just for today, you stopped running and started listening? Listening to your body, your intuition, your fear, your longing, your pain, because all of them are parts of the same mountain, parts of you. And here's the paradox. When you finally stop fighting yourself, the mountain moves. Not because it was conquered, but because you realized it was never separate from you to begin with. Part 3. The Ascent through Surrender. We've walked through the signs. We've stared into the face of our shadow. And now we arrive at the most paradoxical truth of all. The mountain doesn't move when you fight it. It opens when you surrender. But surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to your own truth, to your own becoming. Brianna Wiest writes, "You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That remembrance is not loud. It is not flashy. It is sacred. And it begins the moment you stop trying to change your life from the outside in and start changing from the inside out." Let's talk about the illusion of control, the invisible chain that keeps you stuck at the base of your own mountain. You think if you plan enough, prepare enough, predict enough, you'll finally feel safe. But control is a trauma response, not a life strategy. It's the ego's way of protecting you from unpredictability. But here's the paradox. The more control you seek, the more out of control you feel. Wiest reminds us, you cannot control life. You can only align with it. And alignment requires surrender. It requires trust. It requires you to let go of the fantasy that you can micromanage your way to destiny. You can't. You have to feel your way there. So ask yourself, what part of your life are you white-knuckling right now? What would happen if you stopped forcing and started flowing? The answer might terrify you, but it also might liberate you. Because the mountain doesn't yield to force. It responds to faith. And that faith isn't blind optimism, it's courageous presence. It's the commitment to stay rooted in your truth, even when the outcome is uncertain. Especially when the outcome is uncertain. Another profound realization, your healing will make others uncomfortable. And that's okay. We often think healing is a solitary journey. But it's not. It changes the way you relate to everyone around you. When you stop people-pleasing, when you set boundaries, when you walk away from dysfunction, you disrupt the system. And people don't like that. They like the version of you that made them comfortable. Grace says, you do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Let that sink in. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be true. And sometimes your truth will offend. Let it. Your job is not to make your healing convenient for others. Your job is to honor it, to protect it, to embody it. Because when you become the mountain, you become immovable not in your rigidity, but in your rootedness. You no longer bend to please. You no longer shrink to fit in. You stand tall, firm, and whole, even if you're standing alone. Let's now go deeper into the fear of outgrowing your current life. This is the fear that, if you truly become who you're meant to be, you'll lose everything: friends, relationships, careers, identity. And in some ways you might. But here's the deeper truth. You're not losing them, you're realizing they were never aligned to begin with. Wiest speaks to this beautifully. When you start to heal, you'll start to feel disconnected from the life you built around your wounds. Read that again. The life you're afraid to lose, is often the life you built to survive, not to thrive. And survival is not the same as aliveness. So ask yourself, are you protecting a life you've outgrown just because it's familiar? Are you holding on to friendships that no longer nourish you, jobs that no longer inspire you, identities that no longer fit you? Why? Because they're safe? Because they're predictable? Because they affirm the old story? The mountain asks more of you. It asks you to rise, to evolve, to shed. And shedding is not a loss, it's a sacred recalibration. Here's another sign you are the mountain. You've stopped asking, what do I want? And started asking, who am I becoming? This shift is monumental because desires change, circumstances change. But your becoming, that's the deeper thread. Weist reminds us, the goal is not just to feel better. It's to become better, to live better, to be better. That means your healing isn't just for you. It's for the world. When you rise, you give others permission to rise too. When you embody peace, you become a lighthouse. Your presence becomes medicine. But let's not romanticize this. Becoming better is messy. It's confusing. It's painful. It means sitting with your discomfort instead of numbing it. It means choosing alignment over approval. It means walking away from what no longer serves without needing a villain to justify it. It means trusting yourself when no one claps for you. This is the mountain work. This is what it means to be the one who transforms not just their life, but their lineage. Here's a brutal truth. Healing will make you lonelier before it makes you freer. Because once you stop operating from wounds, you stop relating to people who connect through pain. You stop trauma bonding. You stop gossiping. You stop overgiving. And at first it feels empty. But that emptiness is sacred. It's where you rebuild. It's where you plant new seeds. Weist says, you will feel alone. That's the cost of real growth. But eventually your people will find you. The ones who meet you at your healed frequency. So don't fear the loneliness. Honor it. It's the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It's the cocoon, the chrysalis, the dark before the dawn. And if you stay faithful to your truth, that loneliness becomes liberation. Now, let's talk about power. Not the power to dominate, but the power to self-govern, to choose yourself, to regulate your nervous system, to move from intention, not reaction. Weist writes, true power is calm. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is. When you are the mountain, you don't chase, you attract. You don't convince, you align. You don't beg, you embody. This is not arrogance. It's sovereignty. And sovereignty is the final form of healing. So ask yourself, where have I been giving away my power and why? To people who don't see you? To systems that exploit you? To stories that diminish you? You are the mountain. You do not need permission to rise. You do not need approval to evolve. You only need to remember who you've always been. Let's come full circle. You are not climbing the mountain. You are becoming it. Each fear you face, each truth you tell, each boundary you set, this is how you rise. Not in spite of your pain, but through it. Weist offers a final insight. The mountain was never outside of you. It was always your own soul, begging to be reclaimed. So now we ask you, what would happen if today, right now, you stopped trying to fix yourself and started listening to the parts of you that have been silenced? What if your anxiety was a signal, not a sickness? What if your sadness was sacred? What if your resistance was wisdom? You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are remembering. And here's the final truth. The mountain is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects your fears, your dreams, your wounds, your power. And the moment you stop resisting it is the moment you realize it never needed to be conquered, only embraced. So go, be the mountain, not the one who climbs, but the one who rises, the one who stands, the one who is. You are the storm and the stillness, in the seeker and the source, the wound and the wisdom. You are the mountain, and it's time to come home.